everybody. It's a miracle if I'm here today because I've been so sick during 1 week, really sick, a big cold, and I woke up this morning with a conjunctivitis, we call that like that, in my left eye, and I thought, but I read on internet it's linked to the cold that I had, and I just have to take care of it and to wait for it to get better. But I'm here doing my video no matter what. So I'm going to try to be fast and efficient. First of all, before I start the video, I'm going to make you listen to some music as usually, but for people who don't know, I cannot play the whole tracks, because of copyright problems, infringement. I don't want to have troubles with YouTube, and that's why I never play the tracks completely. I just put little snippets because I want people to listen to what I'm talking about, but without having the problem, because if I have a problem, YouTube can forbid my video and then nobody is going to watch it. So that would be a pity that I work for nothing, and chiefly a pity that you cannot watch my video. So I try to make the things right. Unfortunately, it's not up to me to decide. It's the law. It's like that. Second thing that I'm going to say before starting my video, maybe some of you never watched one of my videos before, so maybe you are wondering, who am I to talk about music? Very fast, I'm going to tell you, who am I to talk about music? I'm nobody. So I grew up in music. My parents were in music. My father was a very famous composer. My mother still is, she doesn't work so much now, but she still is a very famous singer in France. And no, I'm not going to give you her name, because for me, my tranquility and my privacy is very important in that matter. Her name is not my name. My stepfather was a drummer. So I grew up with parents who were in music. I grew up basically between the recording studios and the stage, backstage. I was backstage. So I slept more than once in a recording studio. You can't imagine how many times I fell asleep in a recording studio. At first, I didn't want to be an artist to make some music because I wanted to be different from my parents. So I studied economics in Paris 2 Assas University. Yes, I have a bachelor degree in economics. But then, you know, nature comes back. You can't escape who you are. So at a point, I wanted to sing and to release an album. I was working then with my ex-husband, who is also a musician, composer, programmer, arranger, and I almost released an album, and things happened. I don't want to go in that, but I had some kind of difficulties in France to do my own career because of my family. We could think it's easier because your family was in music. Yes, at first we could think that, but actually it was the contrary, because in France, when you have parents who have done it, you are not very credible. I mean, people don't believe that you deserve where you are because your parents were there before. So at a point it started really getting on my nerves and exhausting me, and fortunately for me, I had another art in my life, not art in my life. It was painting and drawing. I went to that because at least my family was not in that, or almost, no, my family was not in that at all. So I could more do my way there, which I did. So basically I stopped doing some music. I was thinking about that earlier in the day, but actually no, I never stopped, because I was married with a man who was in music, and very often I was, for example, in the kitchen cooking, and suddenly he was calling me to ask me, because we had a home studio at home, he was asking me to come to make a voice or a backup voice on a demo, and that was my life. I was cooking and painting and doing voices sometimes, and helping my children to learn how to play music. So my kids, my older son, I have two sons. My older son is not a musician, he's much more into computers. And my younger son, who is also into computers, still is a musician and composer, and he has a band. His band is Fake Furs, and I help them to learn how to play piano, because when they learned how to play piano, I was learning in the same time to help them. When my younger son wanted to learn how to play drums, I went to the lessons too, and I started learning playing drums, and actually I love playing drums. I'm a very bad musician. I forgot, I didn't play enough, but I'm playing drums a little again these days, and it's coming back little by little, and at least I have a lot of fun with drums. I think that besides singing, drums is probably more for me than piano. However, when I was a child, I was playing a lot on the piano because I was seeing my parents playing on the piano, so of course. And when I was younger, when I was a teenager, like 12, something like that, I learned the guitar, but I had two teachers. So first teacher completely scared me, so I was not progressing because I was so scared by my teacher. But then at a point I went to my grandparents' home, and my grandparents insisted that I learn how to play the guitar, so they hired another teacher who was really nice, and then I started progressing. But of course I forgot everything. However, I bought lately a crap guitar. When I say crap, it's really crap. I paid it like $25. So it's really the most crappy guitar that you can imagine. But I thought, okay, if I manage to do something on a crappy guitar, I will manage to do something on a much better guitar. And I want to see if I can at least catch up what I learned when I was a teenager. Then I came back to my parents, and again the crazy scary teacher started scaring me again, and at a point I gave up because I was so scared. It's ridiculous when I think about it. I should have asked my parents to find someone else, or to try to learn by myself. I was lacking of confidence, obviously. Another thing that you must know, I am absolutely obsessed with the psychedelic rock music, psychedelic music, I want to say, because when I was a child, actually my way of expressing my love for music was by drawing and painting around music. The music was inspiring me, and I was drawing and painting. And actually for me, the two things go together. For me, when I was drawing and painting, it was my way of doing some music. It was not some music, but it was related. So I was obsessed with that. The problem is that the 60s, 70s at a point ended. And when we approach 1978, 79, 80, it was not the same anymore. And I felt like in the middle of a discovery, and I felt like if I was in an unfinished work. I continue growing up and becoming an adult with this regret of having not finished doing what I was supposed to do on that music. So I've been always searching for psychedelic music in everything. And in the 80s, somehow, I found XOXO and Hollis, which was a completely different music, but Hollis has the same background as I have. Even if he was a little older than me, he could have been my big brother. And we basically had the same yes, the same background, the same knowledge about music, like Pink Floyd, for example. He was listening to Can, but I didn't listen to Can when I was a teenager, but when I discovered Can, that is something that I could have listened to when I was a teenager or even a child, because it's completely my kind of music, completely what I was listening to. And for example, I loved 10 Years After, and there is a lot of guitars, electric guitars. In 10 Years After, I loved Pink Floyd, I loved Deep Purple, I loved The Who. The Doors came much later. I loved CCR. I realized that I was listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival a lot. I was listening to the Rolling Stones a lot. I was listening to David Bowie a lot, Slade, but then we go more to the glam and things like that. It's quite different. And I was listening to Led Zeppelin, but Led Zeppelin, it was like a part of our life. I mean, we could hear Led Zeppelin everywhere. So I didn't have to make a conscious effort to listen to Led Zeppelin, because Led Zeppelin was around all the time. It was like the Beatles. You don't need to have all the records of the Beatles to know the Beatles. You can hear the Beatles everywhere, and we could hear the Beatles everywhere. So talking about the Beatles, yes, I was a very small child when my stepfather was listening to the Beatles. He was also, my stepfather, listening a lot to some Brazilian music, so I know a lot about Brazilian music. But my parents were doing some kind of music that I didn't like at all. It was much more some kind of popular French music that I really, really, really didn't like. It's what I call the zim boom boom music. It's not very nice, and I can't believe that I'm saying that. It's unfair, because I grew up and I ate every day thanks to this zim boom boom music. So I cannot say mean things about it, because I'm here now and healthy thanks to that. But of course, I was not at all in this kind of music. When I was listening to music, it was always some artist screaming and playing the electric guitar really loud. I loved that, and it was driving my parents completely crazy. Well, then we moved in a bigger house, so they couldn't hear me listening to music anymore. But at the beginning, we were in a smaller house, and when I was listening really loud the music like that, and I was small, very early, I remember that I was very small and I was listening to Johnny Rivers playing Johnny Hooker, and I loved that. I was very lucky because my parents, when I say my parents, I mean my mother and stepfather, they were receiving vinyl records from the radios, because they were always searching for a song to do in French, from English to French. The problem is that they were receiving all what was fancy then, and most of the things that they were receiving, they didn't like it, so they were giving the records to me. And that's how I got a whole collection of singles, short period vinyl records of things which are absolutely fabulous, because they didn't like them, but I loved them. Like, I don't know, Stevie Wonder, James Brown. You know, I have a whole collection. One day maybe I will show you on a video. That's not the subject of the day. Later in life, I'm not going to talk about that here. I left France. My ex-husband and I got separated, and I left France to come here in Los Angeles with my younger son, who was still a teenager when we arrived. And we moved here. It was planned before the separation. It was planned that we all moved to Los Angeles. My older son had already left to Japan, where he had a job there. So it was not planned that my older son comes to Los Angeles, because he didn't want to. He wanted to go to Japan. So he went to Japan. Actually, he's married with a Japanese woman now, but they live in Germany now. Finally, I did it alone with my younger son, who wanted to come, and we moved here. And of course, beside my son, who was making some music in the garage where we used to have a studio, Well, I still have the garage, but the studio is not there anymore. But I still have the garage. So it was fun when my son was still here because I could hear some music all the time. He was playing all the time. A lot of musicians were coming here to play, and it was fun. My son never asked me to sing, to make voices. No, he asked me to make claps once. It was fun. I was not the only one. We were many people clapping. It was clap session. It was so fun. Anyway, my younger son got married also, and of course he went to live with his wife. So I ended up in my house with my cat, with my garage empty, and no more music. But before my younger son left, I started in 2014 my videos about Hollis and XOXO. So why? I cannot tell the whole story again because I did it so many times. Maybe I will write links to my previous videos in the description box if you are interested. Anyway, basically I think that I was owing something to Hollis because I started painting again thanks to XOXO music. Because yes, I was blocked, I was not managing to paint anymore. So thanks to him, to Hollis, I managed to paint again. So it was my way of thanking him. And then I discovered that he made so wonderful albums like Spirit of Eden, Laughing Stock, and the solo album. And I realized that he was a genius. So I thought, oh, I wanted to do YouTube videos. I'm going to do YouTube videos about that, about Hollis and how genius he is. And I started doing, and more I was doing, more I had to say, and it couldn't end, and I couldn't stop. And I started in 2014, and I'm still talking about him sometimes now. Unfortunately, in the meantime, he died on last February. I was very sad because I was hoping that my videos would make him come back in the show business because he has stopped working since a very long time, and I think that I was hoping that my videos would encourage him to come back. Yes, who am I to encourage someone? Anyway, I thought that maybe it could work. He knew I was doing videos. I can only guarantee you that he knew. Now, if my videos could encourage him to come back, that was hard to say. I know that before he died, it was discussed that maybe he would come back. So maybe, I don't know. Anyway, here I was, and on last May, there was this incredible tribute made by Derde Verde, tribute for Hollis made by Derde Verde and friends. And I went because it was a tribute from Hollis, and I thought, I have to go. I'm talking about Hollis since 5 years. Yes, 5 years. So I have to go. That's how I discovered Derde Verde, the band. And then they told me that they were making their own music. So I started listening to their own music and started doing a lot of videos about Derde Verde. And they just released an album lately. I started talking about it, but I'm not done yet. Well, I have a lot to say still about Derde Verde. And why not? I've been young and trying to make some music at a point. I know how difficult it is, even if my difficulties were not the same difficulties as young people could have now to try. It's not the same circumstances or the same country or the same situation. There are things which are much easier now because of internet, the possibility of making a CD, but it's still very difficult because it's the same for everybody, and a lot of competition and a lot of artists out there, and it's very difficult to get noticed. So I thought these young people are very good. It's very good what they do, and I will try to help them as much as I can, which I did, and I don't plan to stop as long as it's fun, pleasant, and yes, as long as it's pleasant to do it, why not? But there is something that you don't know. Well, now you start knowing that you start knowing that I love psychedelic music. I've always been in this situation where I love delicate and calm music and soft music, but there is something in me also which likes more agitated music, I would say, more strong. For example, it's the case when I'm listening to the Foo Fighters. We cannot say that it's soft music, it's rather, you know, Foo Fighters, Red Hot Chili Peppers. When I listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it's not what I call soft music. I went to see them, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I went to see them at Bercy in Paris a very long time ago. I think it was in 2004. I loved it. I loved it. So I have these two interests in music. I suppose that I have eclectic styles and things that I like which can be completely different. So I'm able to love Hollis and XOXO and also to love Led Zeppelin, for example, which according to me is not what I call soft. Led Zeppelin is delicate, but very strong, very powerful. Lately, I've been a lot into Led Zeppelin, and that will be the subject of another video because it's too long to explain. Now, I want to talk about what I did on Thursday, and I want to talk about another band. So I'm going to talk about someone. His name is Gabe. I've known him since years. I've known him since the bar, Waltz Bar, opened beside my home, not far from where I live. I don't know when it was, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. So it's pinballs, it was then pinballs, beers. I don't know if they already had wine then at the beginning, but it was mostly beers and pinballs. So I used to play pinball when I was much younger, but I usually don't play pinball. Do I drink beer? I don't hate beer, but I usually don't drink beer because I never drink, and if I drink a beer, I'm drunk. So if I want to work, it's difficult to work and drink a beer in the same time. However, when I was doing my artworks with my friend, my DJ friend Ron, who passed away, we used to drink beers then. But it was exceptional. It was just for the occasion. But one beer and I'm out. So when Waltz opened, I thought, okay, I don't drink beer, I don't play pinball, but I like the place. I used to go to my post office by foot. It's very far. It's about, back and forth, it's about 4 miles. 4 miles, yes. So I used to go by foot there because I need to walk for my health. It's good for me. I love walking. So I go very often to the post office, maybe once or twice a week. I do that and it's good for me and I love it. So one day I was coming back. I had a lot of work to do after the post office. I didn't have the time to cook and I was coming back and starving and carrying things that I bought at Target. I arrived in front of Waltz and I saw it was written hot dogs. And I thought, okay, I'm going to eat a hot dog. I never eat hot dogs. But I thought, why not? Why not? I'm hungry. So I came in. There was this guy behind the bar, Gabe. I didn't know his name then. And he said, hello. I said, hello. And I said, I would like a hot dog. That's basically how we started the conversation. So he gave me my hot dog and some very good music was playing, coming from his, I don't know, boombox, or I don't know what he had to play some music. And it was really good music. And there was this guy sitting beside me at the bar. And he was talking with Gabe about music, and Gabe was saying that, if I remember well, his grandfather showed him a lot of music, very good quality country music. But what he was playing was very psychedelic, very 60s, 70s. And Gabe looked like a guy who could have lived in the 60s, 70s. Seriously, when I came in, I was like, where am I? I'm back in time. Because even in the bar, there were objects which looked very 60s, 70s. And I love that because, as I told you, I have an unfinished project from my childhood about that period. So everything related to that, I love. And suddenly I was like in another world. I was back in the past with the music, with these two guys talking about music, and I was listening to the conversation, and at a point I started talking with them about music. I found that fantastic, and I thought, wow, such a young guy who is interested really in very good quality music. That's amazing. And Gabe seemed so excited about music, and he was changing the music, and listen to that and listen to that. Then I thought that Gabe was the owner of the bar. I don't know why I thought that it was his bar, because he seemed so comfortable and relaxed and deciding what music to play. I really thought, wow, that's really cool. Even though I'm not the kind of woman going in the day in a bar to drink a beer and play pinball. No, I don't do that. But it happened to me to go maybe once or twice. Not for the beer, not for the pinball, just for the music. For the pleasure of listening to Gabe's music. Because Gabe was working in the day. I never saw him at night there, so he was working in the day. Later I understood that he was just working there. It was not his bar. And I was seeing Gabe all the time because he was working really close to me, and when I was going out he was there, and we were talking or say hello, or sometimes he was on the terrace of the bar and I was passing in front of him and we said hello. Okay, so really I knew him. Sometimes we were bumping in each other in the street. He was coming from somewhere, was coming from somewhere else, and oh, hello. Every time I was thinking I must ask him more about music. During all this time, I had the feeling that he was reminding me someone very familiar. All the time I was thinking, oh, he makes me think of someone that I know really well. But who is it? Who is it? I couldn't put my finger on it. And of course, I didn't think so much about it because I have other things to do in my life than thinking. Who Gabe makes me think of? No, it came across my mind several times, but well, I was not focused on that, let's say. But every time I was seeing him, I was like, oh, he reminds me someone. I don't manage to find who it is. And one day I went to Hollis. I took a picture of him because I was determined to find. So I thought maybe if I have a picture, I will remember more easily. And one day, because maybe you don't know, but I'm on Instagram. If you want to know more about what I do in a week, if you are interested, of course, and I'm very often talking about music, not for me, but for the music. Maybe you can follow me on Instagram. My link is in the description box to Instagram. Of course, I am following everything about Led Zeppelin, everything about jimmypage that I always loved. And one day someone posted a photo of jimmypage, very particular photo, and I looked at this photo. I thought, this photo reminds me someone that I know really well. And suddenly, Gabe! And I thought, no, wow, I didn't realize that right away. And I thought, no, it's my imagination. And I took the two photos, Gabe, Jimmy Page, and wow. I even sent the two photos to a friend of mine in Paris, and my friend told me, okay, where did you find this one? So I wanted to tell Gabe that because I thought it's impossible. Someone probably has told him that before. I'm not the only one. It's impossible because it's so obvious. I don't have a lot of photos of Gabe. There are beautiful photos of Gabe online or on Instagram, but I cannot use them because they don't belong to me. They belong to his girlfriend, Gabe's girlfriend, who, by the way, is a very excellent photographer. She takes wonderful photos. But I can tell you, sometimes I see a photo of Gabe and I don't know if it's Gabe or Jimmy Page. Oh, yes. So, my story is not over. I was thinking I must tell Gabe, but you know how it is. We have somewhere to do. I didn't have the time to go to a bar to talk about photos, so time passes and I don't talk about that with Gabe. So lately I've been obsessing a lot on Led Zeppelin. And I was walking to go to the grocery store. I was lost in my mind. I was not wearing my glasses. Usually before I was wearing contacts, but lately I couldn't wear my contacts anymore because I don't know, I can't bear them anymore. So I think the air is too dry in Los Angeles. I don't manage to wear my contacts. So I wear my glasses, but as I'm not used to wear glasses, sometimes I forget. And so I see nothing. Very often in the street I don't have my glasses and I walk. I'm able to walk and to see where I'm walking, but I mean I don't see the details. So I basically see nothing. I'm walking lost in my mind and my thoughts. And I was thinking in my mind, I was singing a song by Led Zeppelin in my mind, and I was thinking, why am I so obsessed about Jimmy Page's guitar these last weeks? It's driving me crazy. And at that moment, I see a guy arriving from far, and I think, Jimmy Page is walking towards me. And I thought, oh, there are many guys in Los Angeles who look like Jimmy Page. It was Gabe. It was Gabe walking towards me. And I'm like, that is becoming spooky because I'm thinking about Jimmy Page and Gabe is arriving. That is weird. Anyway, I crossed Gabe. Gabe told me hello. And I said, oh, I must show you something. But Gabe was in the rush. And I told him, okay, I will come later and I will show you. Later that day I couldn't, but I thought I will come another day. And maybe 2-3 days later I went. Gabe was not working there anymore. And I was like, no. And the music sucked. Actually, I don't even think there was... Yes, there was a music, but it was not that. And I thought, oh, what a loss for Walt's Bar, because the whole thing of the bar was the music. So, of course, there is the beers and the wines, and they have wines, and now they make food sometimes. But without Gabe's music, no, it's not the same anymore. And I thought, wow, what a loss for this bar. Anyway, no more Gabe. I was very disappointed. And I was thinking about that during a few days, and I thought, that's crazy because I had never the opportunity to tell him how much he looked like Jimmy Page. And I never asked him if he actually played some music. Because when you know music so much, he must be playing something. It's impossible that he doesn't play something, or maybe he sings or something. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to spend my life wondering if Gabe was a musician or not, and wondering if Gabe is aware that he looks like Jimmy Page. I know I have very interesting conversation in my head. And I thought, okay, I must ask someone in the bar if there is a way I can reach Gabe, at least to ask him that, so I'm not going to spend the rest of my life wondering. One day I was coming back from the post office again. I came in, a guy asked me what I wanted. I said, I want to reach Gabe. The guy told me, Gabe doesn't work here anymore. I said, I know. There is not a phone number, there is not, I don't know, an email, maybe he has an Instagram, something. And the guy told me, oh yeah, actually he has a band. Okay, he has a band. So at least I was not completely wrong. He plays saxophone. He plays saxophone. I couldn't imagine him with a saxophone. I imagined him with a guitar, but not with a saxophone. So I thought, interesting. And yes, he has an Instagram, and he gave me his Instagram name. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to send him the 2 photos to show him what I think. And I'm going to ask him if he's playing in a band, what is his band, what he's doing. And maybe we can discuss music again, because I really need so much to talk about music with someone. That is really a need that I have. I used to talk music all the time with Ron Kane, my friend, who passed away 2 years now, 2 years, 3 years. And now I had Ron. I could talk with Ron all the time about music, and now Ron is not there anymore. And I come across a young guy who could be my son, who knows as much about the music I love as much as I do, which is unbelievable. And I thought, wow, I can't let that go just like that and not care, you know. So I contacted Gabe, and he told me that he had a band. So it's a Grave or Gravy Flowers Bongo band. But actually then I discovered that he had another band, which is Hooveriii. And maybe he has a third band, I don't know. Maybe. I discovered that he plays saxophone, that he plays guitar, yes, that he plays harmonica. Jimmy Page plays guitar, yes. All kinds of guitar, like mandolin and things like that. Harmonica, yes. I started listening to Gravy Flowers, Bongo Band. There is one album I listened to, and oh my goodness. I will talk about that later, because it's not the subject of this video, but I absolutely love the album. I told him, okay, I want to talk about you in one of my videos, or several, I don't know yet, but at least 2, yeah, or several, I don't know yet how much. Anyway, I want to talk about you, but I need to see you play live, because I need to see by myself. He had a show. It was just when I released my last video, when I was editing, but it was a last minute show. I knew that in the afternoon for the same evening I couldn't go. I was in the middle of something, I couldn't go, so I missed that. And then I heard that he went on tour with Hooveriii. And I thought, okay, so when I'm going to see him play in Los Angeles, because he's away. But on Thursday, he played in Los Angeles, and I knew it. I was sick like hell, but I said, no, I will go. I need to see that. I need to stop wondering how it is and go and see. And if I'm super sick after that, well, never mind, at least I will have seen. So I went to the show. And I've seen and I've loved it, and it's exactly what I was expecting. And I can tell you, Gabe is not Jimmy Page. There is something in the same direction. Obviously, there is something between the two. Jimmy Page, Jimmy Page is absolutely incredible. He's an incredible guitarist, so it's very difficult to compare anyone to Jimmy Page. I mean, it's like if I was comparing someone, a band with the Beatles. You can compare that, but there is something. There is something. And obviously, Hooveriii is very influenced by the music, psychedelic, rock, psychedelic music that I love. And at a point, there was a song. By Hooveriii, which made me think of the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. And when I went out of the show, I had the Immigrant Song of Led Zeppelin in my mind, and I was wondering why, because it was not what I just heard. But then when I compared these two songs, one of the songs of Hooveriii and the Immigrant Song, I understood why it made me think of that. I went to this show. I didn't have a time frame. They just told me, the organizer, the people who were organizing just told me to come at 8, that there was no time set. So I thought, okay, I will come at 8 p.m. and I will see. I didn't want to miss Hooveriii. I didn't want to miss Gabe. First artist, it was someone who, I don't remember his name, Love something, I don't remember his name. I will write it here. He was playing like the techno show where I went, where my son was participating to replace someone. It was kind of similar. It's not usually my kind of thing, but I must admit that it was very powerful. It couldn't be ignored. It was interesting to listen to and to watch. Then there was another band, really rock and roll, I would say. The singer made me think of Francis Lalanne, who used to be a French singer in France. And I was like, okay, I have Francis Lalanne just in front of me. Very good musicians. The bass players were on the right. I always imagine the bass players on the left. Like for The Who, for example, like for Led Zeppelin. There was a bass player wearing a t-shirt where it was written Led Zeppelin. So I thought, okay, I came to the right place. I really liked it. At a point, a girl came and threw some black feather on the ground. And I thought, what is that? Some kind of Native American magic or something like that. I wanted to keep one feather, but then I thought, oh no, maybe it's bad luck, or I don't know. I don't like to play with these things. Then it was another band. The singer was coming from Texas, according to what he said. And I noticed that he had some glitter around the eyes. I noticed that because I love glitter. So I was like, ooh, where your glitter comes from. Oh, and he was playing on the flûte traversière. How we say that in English, I don't know. Like Jethro Tull, you know. Yeah, it was very rock and roll, very inspired 60s, 70s also. I really felt like coming back in the past. But it was the present, and so it was from now, but in the same time I had my stock of psychedelic thing, and the decor there was incredible. I loved everything there. At a point, I had a very bad idea. The guy beside me in the audience, he was taking photos with a flash. And I thought, oh, or maybe I should try that with my small, I didn't use my iPhone for them, I used my small camera. And I took a photo with a flash, and I shouldn't have, because first it completely blinded the singer, and I saw he looked at me, he seemed pissed off, so maybe I'm imagining that. I apologize for that. I didn't do it twice because I could see that it was not a good idea. And anyway, the photo, you know, photos with a flash are really bad. This DJ who was playing some really good music, also very 60s, 70s inspired, and I was like, it's incredible. I feel like at home, because between the artists there was this music played by the DJ, and I thought, wow, this music is really, really good. And at a point he played a French song. J'aime regarder les filles qui marchent sur la plage. So you must really know really well your stuff to know this song, because the song is a little famous in France. The singer is not known, Courtin, I don't remember the name, I will write it here. The singer is not very famous, and this song is in France is known, but it's more known by a very kind of fancy people who know good musics like Gainsbourg, very Parisian. People who know a lot about music, who know that. And last time I heard that, it was my friend, the DJ Ron Kane, who played that for me. And we were talking about that, and suddenly I hear this song. J'aime regarder les filles qui marchent sur la plage. And I heard that there. This guy knows what he's talking about. So it's a Sonosphere, very good DJ, I recommend him. I will write all the links in my description box. And then it was Hooveriii. So there is Gabe, there is this blonde girl who plays the bass, and I love her, I loved her outfit. There is this guy on the keyboards, very interesting what he's doing. There was this other guitarist who was mostly singing. I think it was the lead voice with long straight hair. I don't know their names yet. I'm just discovering, just like you. And there was this unbelievable drummer. I told Gabe, your drummer is... So Gabe plays on a guitar, but it's a very particular guitar. It seemed to me that the guitar was particular. And Gabe is also doing voices also, he sings also. It was exactly what I was expecting. Very psychedelic. Very, yes, rock psychedelic, very, very Gabe, I want to say. I don't know who makes the songs, maybe all together, I don't know. I really highly recommend that you check on Hooveriii. They seem really good all together. It's Very interesting. And what was interesting, yes. What was interesting is that they were kind of jamming. They were looking at each other to see what was going to do the other one. And that is very typical of Led Zeppelin live. Led Zeppelin live, they were jamming and they were improvising and looking at each other to know what is going to do next, the other one. It proves a kind of really a good relationship in the band to be able to do that, and it was really great. Yes, for example, this piece, this track. I love the riff. If you go to listen to that, so one is dun, 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 and the other one is dun, 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 dun. The voice. If you put it on dun, 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 you can put it. It works. I think it's the same chords, but not played by the same way. It's an accident. I'm not saying that they did it purposely, but that's why I was thinking that's crazy, because seriously, it's not because Gabe looks like Jimmy Page that I must mix their music, but there is something in the music too. By the way, at a point I thought that Gabe was maybe not as tall as Jimmy Page, because Jimmy Page is rather tall. And no, Gabe is tall too. He was talking beside me. He is really tall too. They must be the same size also. And I can tell you, he was talking beside me. He was just beside me. The resemblance is really striking. We say that striking is really surprising. Obsessed with Jimmy Page's guitar riffs lately. I've been obsessing on that. You cannot imagine. I will tell you in another video because going insane. Yesterday I was listening to another song of Led Zeppelin 3. Out on the Tiles at 2 minutes and 38 seconds, a riff is starting. And I couldn't stop. I had that in my mind the whole day, and in the evening I couldn't stop listening to it, and I thought I must stop listening to it. Anyway, I will talk about Led Zeppelin in other videos. Talking about Led Zeppelin, I received that. It's his book, it's Jimmy Page by Jimmy Page. The book is so heavy, 7 pounds. When the postman wrote the package and gave it to me in my hands, I almost fell down. I didn't expect to have something so heavy. I'm reading it right now. There are a lot of photos, but there is also a lot to read. And I'm reading it right now, and I will do a video about that later. So far, so here's my Kleenex. It's my bookmark because I was so sick. I used the Kleenex as bookmark. Anyway, I love this book. So far, where I am, I love this book. I discovered that Jimmy Page played in my university, of course, years before when I went there. But it's very strange because lately I've been thinking about Led Zeppelin, and every time I thought about it, I had the image of Rue d'Assas and the Jardin du Luxembourg, the Luxembourg Garden, and I was wondering why I was associating my university and this street and the Luxembourg Garden with Led Zeppelin, because I was not listening to Led Zeppelin when I was a student. And then I discovered that they played in my university. So I don't know why. Maybe someone told me then, and it was in a corner of my mind, and it came back. I don't know. But I will tell you about this book. Okay, so I'm going to stop my video here because otherwise it's going to be too long. All that to tell you that I will continue on Derde Verde. I will continue on Gabe and his different bands. I will continue on Hollis and XOXO, and I will continue and I will start more exactly on Led Zeppelin and jimmypage, among other things. Don't forget to like, to subscribe if you want to, but it would really help me, and to comment if you have any comment or any suggestions, things that you want me to talk about. Please do suggest and I will see what I can do, and I see you very soon in my next one. Bye bye.